30 seconds is up, even though it was only 18 seconds on my screen by the looks of things. But here we are. Hello and welcome to this wonderful little Q&A that we have for all things Dungeon Flippers. My name is Viger. I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, NevaehEvol.
Hello.
And we have the most wonderful guest to talk about all things Dungeon Flippers, the freaking creator of it.
Woohoo!
That's right. It's me. Hello, Travis Fowler, reporting in.
Okay, so now we're news anchor, real estate agent, D&D, dungeon master. What can't you do? Apparently,
I'm a man of many hats.
Well, speaking of being a man of many hats, do you mind telling us a little bit about the many hats that you supposedly wear, as far as introductions are concerned?
Sure thing. Let's see. So I am an animator by trade. I live in Atlanta, so I've kind of been in that Atlanta animation sphere. I worked on shows for Netflix, HBO Max, a lot of those things. And I've always wanted to make my own shows. So I'm kind of being in the thick of the process, the pipeline. I was like, well, I know how everything works. I might as well just make my own one. And so with the Dungeon Flippers so far, it's creator, writer, rigger, animator, boarder, just about every. I've had my hands in just about every facet of the creation.
A walking, talking Swiss Army knife.
Yes. That's right.
And before we go any further, just to let everyone know in chat, later on in the interview, we will be taking user-submitted questions. I will just let everyone know that super-chatted questions will take priority. But if you do have a question to ask, feel free to still type it out regardless. We will not be delving into spoiler territory as far as future episodes going forward. So just to make sure that nobody's asking a question that's not going to get answered, be reasonable and all that other stuff. You know the drill. I have faith.
You guys know, have common sense.
Yeah.
I know it's not that common anymore, but
Just be cool.
exactly.
So continuing with the introductions and the little autobiography that we have going, what kind of shows did you work on before going into Dungeon Flippers itself?
Right. I worked on a lot of kind of adult, like they call them prime time style shows, which for me is kind of like, it's kind of like Family Guy kind of shows.
Okay.
One of the first shows I worked on was The Awesomes. It was a Hulu show, superheroes, starring Seth Meyers.
Why does that ring a bell? way back in the mid-2000s.
It was about 10 years ago, I think, is when I started that one. But I've worked on shows like Mulligan on Netflix, HBO Max's The Prince, a lot of these kind of adult sitcom style cartoons and stuff.
Okay.
Got you.
And I think kind of ironically, working a lot of these very crude, mature shows, I think is part of the reason why Dungeon Flippers doesn't have a whole lot of profanity or like sexual jokes in it. I'm just like, you know what? I'd like to not this time. Yeah.
I gotta sell them on the pilot at least, and then once they're in,
we can just do whatever. No,
freaking go.
There you go.
Yeah, but I think I worked a few seasons on Paradise Police Department on Netflix, which is this like the Brickleberry team that kind of very, very vulgar, lots of poop and sex jokes. I animate some of the most unspeakable things one could see and stuff. And so all the more reason I was like, wouldn't it be nice to make something that was kind of pleasant?
A little wholesome, maybe.
Like you're already going in there with like no restraint whatsoever. Like I've already done the most despicable, deplorable, degenerate stuff I can get away with. What else can't I do at this point? So,
right.
And coming from the two of us being like Helliverse aficionados and everything,
right?
We do appreciate the crude and degenerate humor, but it's also a nice change of pace as well to see something just like, if I had to describe Dungeon Flippers with one word, it's cozy.
That is so accurate.
It's very cozy, chill. I don't have to worry about so much stuff or look over my shoulder. Like, who else is watching this with me? And are they going to walk in at the Wrong time.
That's right. You have to cover the screen. No, Mom.
No, it's not what you think.
No,
It's real estate.
That's right.
So speaking of that itself,
Mm-hmm.
what is Dungeon Flippers? From the man who made it himself, what is Dungeon Flippers?
What is Dungeon Flippers? Wow. It is a fantasy real estate show. I've sometimes coined it as it's D&D meets HGTV. Because it very much combines it combines my love of things like, like traditional fantasy RPGs, D&D type of things, with also, I feel like just that good cathartic feeling of watching like an HGTV show, your House Hunters, your Fixer Upper, those kinds of shows.
Trading Spaces.
Yeah, Love It or Listed, any of those kinds of things. It's just like, and those shows in themselves are kind of these quests. I feel like they're, despite seeming like very different genres, I feel like they harmonize very well.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that there is that, like you said, there is that like harmony between them, because like you go on Steam and you see all of these games. It's like medieval blacksmith shop simulator, medieval tavern simulator, and I know there's probably a medieval house flipper simulator somewhere out there, and it's like,
oh yeah,
rated highly positive, hundreds of thousands of downloads, and everyone's just like streaming in like a half-induced coma, just be like, I love this game so much.
I would absolutely play a medieval times themed like dungeon flipper game. Like, hey,
I need to
Wiggles eyebrows.
I need to get another hat that's game development.
Yeah,
I know nothing about, but I'm like, man, if I did know how, I would totally work on making one.
There's plenty of people that know how. They just need a good storyboarder.
That's right.
Just need a good storyboarder.
I think we may be focused on getting episode 2 out first, though.
Yeah, that getting the series out first.
That might help.
It might. So, moving right along, we kind of delved into it, but you can get a little bit more detailed. Nevaeh, if you want to take this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. So I am so nosy, and I love hearing what inspires people, what drives them to create. And so what inspired you to create Dungeon Flippers? And then also, because I'm extra nosy, what just in general perhaps inspires you to create? If you have like a driving force behind that.
No, yeah. I feel like creating or the ideas for Dungeon Flippers, like inspiration, very, very nebulous. There's a lot of different little things and anecdotes I've looked back to, because obviously I play a lot of D&D. I'm a big Zelda fan, Dragon Quest, a lot of these things. And I remember some of the first times I was playing Dungeons and Dragons, as opposed to like a video game, you kind of like, you spend a lot of time in dungeons, and if you're very imaginative like I tend to be, you imagine the smells, the feeling of the cold stone as you're sitting around a campfire in a dungeon. Or like you're opening up a door and there's like a bunch of orcs sleeping in there, and you're like, that's where they live. That's their home. We tend to think of dungeons, especially in the gamey sense of like, you go in, you bash some monsters, you get some treasure, you get out, all that stuff. But like, much like how Delicious in Dungeon, which is a big inspiration for me in the past few years,
absolutely.
How it looks at dungeons as an ecosystem. For me, it's the idea of seeing dungeons as homes for monsters, and kind of just delving into the fun ideas that can go with that. I know a lot of it came up or kind of inspired me. I was inspired for a lot of it in my kind of early to mid 20s when I was moving to Atlanta, in the big city, kind of like making my own lifestyle, my own home space of my own.
Oh, gotcha.
And feeling that kind of like, living in a very small, tiny apartment, watching home renovation shows, being like, oh, so nice, so clean. It's within my power to make my space more interesting. And then somewhere along the ways of that D&D and everything, it started to really kind of coalesce. I've also talked before about Deep Cut. There was like a late 80s, I think, cartoon called David the Gnome. that's about a gnome named David. But
Shocker.
yeah, who'd have thunk? Here's your synopsis. There's a gnome. But no, yeah, like one of the early episodes, he goes into extreme lengths talking about how gnomes build their houses and like they use the certain kind of tree and do all these different things. I'm like, this is the schematic of my house, and this is all where the plumbing system goes.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's a neat little. Yeah, I'm just like it makes it feel so much more real, kind of, and immersive, and it felt like watching a home renovation show, but about gnomes and stuff, and that, a lot of those
plumbing.
Magic plumbing. They use a lot of it's wild how the gnomes do it. So all these things kind of mixed and muddled around in my head for a while, and eventually, like a bolt of lightning, I was like, wait a minute, there needs to. What if grabbing paper,
violently writing it down,
red string going everywhere?
Yeah, like real estate agents with their monsters and there's dungeons and they're house hunting and renovating dungeons. Yes, this is good. And it was a slow process and kind of one of those scribbling the characters on Post-it notes for a few years before I really started getting to the brass tacks of making an actual show out of it. But it started to appear.
Right.
Heck yeah.
It starts somewhere from manic scribblings to being like,
yes.
Okay, this goes there. We'll have the character say this, but in this sort of inflection to drive this sort of emotional state. And then just another manic scribble in the side.
And honestly, the fact that it comes from something so like personal, like your whole move, and then also like the different experiences of what made a concept feel immersive to you, I think that has to heavily, heavily contribute to how like you said before, Viger, cozy and just nice it feels to watch Dungeon Flippers, which also just is it's so silly, not to gush or anything, but just the writing and the sense of humor in the show is just so lovely. And I think that just judging by this reaction so far, every bit of just that niceness and that little personality of yours seeping in there.
Yeah.
It fully translates.
You.
Of course.
I'm not gonna lie, it's just like you and Molly just kind of look the same. So it's like I can't
the
help
beard
it.
is kind of new, but I'm like, am I copying her? I don't know.
Okay, I wasn't gonna say anything, but I was like, this feels right.
Life imitates art sometimes.
Exactly.
I guess.
I was just about to say, it's like, what is that phrase?
Right.
So, a little bit of insight into the creation of Dungeon Flippers itself. But going into the broader expanse of things, Dungeon Flippers has been previously showcased during one of the Glitch X events alongside a plethora of other wonderful indie shows that have just been exploding onto the scene as of late. Like this whole movement came out of nowhere, if you ask me. Like there's just so much to go with. So I ask this question to everybody, but
yes.
Your personal opinion about the state of indie animation and Dungeon Flippers' place in it.
Right. I know, I've really been amazed by the kind of shift with indie animation the past few years, especially. I feel like some of it could be just the kind of stale regurgitation of mainstream media. I don't want to speak too profoundly knowledgeable about those things, but it seems like a lot of networks and stuff are kind of not embracing new ideas as much, or being as open to things. And it's always interesting. Creativity, I feel like it's creativity is unkillable. If it doesn't appear in certain spots, it'll show up elsewhere. And I feel like that's what we're seeing with indie animation, is that people's creativity and their drive to make things worth making will appear in the most unlikely of places.
Exactly. It's just you don't see a show like this anywhere. No. You don't. Whether it's vibe, its premise, its characters, you don't see this stuff anymore, unfortunately. And it's kind of a shame that this kind of show has to be independently developed, as opposed to being like anyone with
just walking into a studio's door and just being like, here you go,
and give it a shot, give it a chance. And I think that's what indie's kind of doing. It's like, I could get this pilot to a major publishing studio and maybe get a response. Or I could toss it on YouTube and actually have an audience that says, yes, we want more of this.
Precisely.
Here's money to make more of it. And
totally.
And then you've got, then the production studios show up and you're like, so about that show.
So how can we get a piece of the cake you're baking?
Precisely. No, because I don't want to name names, but I did submit Dungeon Flippers. I pitched it somewhere quite a few years ago, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, I think, when it was still kind of just an idea. And the studio that responded were like, well, it's a little too high concept. We want like, we're only looking for shows that take place in the real world with humans.
What?
We want a show that's not really about anything.
So there was superhero movie number 137 now.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, you want a show that's not about anything or has anything interesting in it. And I was like, all right, well, good luck with that. Okay, I don't want to make any of those kinds of shows. So good luck to you.
You don't want to make corporate slop? What do you mean?
What do you think?
Whoa,
wild. So no, it's been neat to see that the response, because making a show like this, I didn't know if anyone would like it. I knew I enjoyed it, but it was hard to tell if anyone else would. So to see people like being like, yes, this is good, more please. It's like,
exactly.
Wait a minute.
You cut through the bureaucracy and go straight to the audience to get a response. And
precisely,
who knows what could have happened if insert studio's name here decided to say, sure, we'll give Dungeon Flippers a shot. You just need to change this, and it's not even Dungeon Flippers anymore. So
right.
That's another beautiful mark of indie animation. The creator keeps everything together as intended.
Precisely.
You have the final say in everything.
I love cutting out a middleman.
That's right.
It's just more efficient that way, let's be honest here. So, Nevaeh, if you want to take this question, it's a two-parter.
All right, so we were talking about how a certain special little place was like, we just want humans. Well, that's boring. Sorry, humans, you guys are boring. So, just kidding. I was looking at the wrong question, and I prepped for the wrong thing. I said,
we'll put a pin in that.
We'll put a pin in that.
No worries.
Anywho, so animation industry, obviously you have had your hand in it for a little bit. So what is your favorite part of working in it, as well as your least favorite part? But obviously you don't have to spill too many details. I don't want you getting in trouble.
No. right. But definitely my favorite part has got to be the sense of camaraderie. Because it's one of those things, you have your other animators, your background teams, all the different departments and your directors. There's always that joke with corporate stuff of like, we're like a family, which typically is not. It's typically is not good. But there is kind of a fun, like when you're working in a more artistic thing, even if it is like a prime time sloppy show. There's a sense of camaraderie that we are doing this craft that we are passionate about, even if the show we're kind of so on. There's like I used to work in like. I do mostly work from home these days, but back a while back, we worked in a studio. So, we'd have those fun like lunchroom conversations and like little events and things. So we had like several D&D groups rotating throughout the studio. So just that sense of everyone's there because they enjoy animation, because they enjoy making these things. And I feel like you don't get that in a lot of other jobs and fields. Well, I guess some you do, but it's less often.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about working in the industry. Least favorite thing, I think, is probably just that pressure from above, the corporate aspects, which I guess that's every job. If you have a way up boss, that might rain thunder down from the heavens, where it's just like, oh no, what? Do everything but different. Oh no!
No! I felt that.
Yeah, working late again. Oh no!
I know that feeling all too well as well.
Very true.
Yeah, like the crunch can be real. Boundaries are important and things. But no, yeah. So a lot of that just corporate crunch. and the hierarchiness is not quite good. But the camaraderie amongst your peers is where it's at.
I mean, that goes with any job as
True.
well.
Yeah.
But a little bit different in the entertainment industry.
I guess there's also the excitement of making the thing and then seeing it go out in the world and be like, oh, there it is. Hey, everybody, the thing we all worked on, it's there. Like,
And people love it. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I love the kinds of things that you can like see the product of your work and you can see all the progress. It's just, oof, it fuels the souls.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It does. It does. We can move right along into this next one. It's a little bit of a hypothetical, but I always like to include a hypothetical question with our guests.
Okay, very nice.
This is the one I thought I was reading.
So if you want to take that, one, then yes, go for it.
Rewinding back to where I was. Okay, so we were talking about how silly humans are, yada yada, the whole bit. Okay, so boom, you're in your character select. What kind of medieval fantasy character would you be? And what would your ideal dungeon be? Like, what kind of style you live in?
Let's see. What kind of character? I think we're thinking about like species or
I'm like you're fit. Honestly, my mind when I read this, I was like, D&D race. What are we selecting for our Sona?
We're going through Baldur's Gate 3 again with mods.
Right.
What race am I picking this time to go through the Goblin arc and then get bored, do a different character, and go through it again?
We are allowing homebrew.
That's what I'm saying, mods.
That's true. I know I've often really enjoyed the Dragonborn characters. I think in some ways, I played a Dragonborn a few campaigns D&D. I think that may have been some of the inspiration for Cleveland. Is these fun little scaly boys? They're a lot of fun. I think that'd probably be up on my list for those.
Understandable.
Ideal dungeon. Ooh, I do like me a high perched, like some kind of watch post, like a crumbling ruin on a mountain high. Lots of vultures circling around, maybe.
Yes, the vulture gang.
Yes, something kind of like that. A little dusty, a little arid, maybe. A
little bit decrepit here and there places.
That's right.
I love this. I would try to sell you stuff. I would walk up to your door. I'd go knock knock. I have silly trinkets. Would you like to buy a chocolate bar from my baseball team?
Ooh, yes.
What is this baseball you speak of? I've been in this perch for over 100 years.
Kinds with and without nuts. What is this?
Didn't know I had options this time around.
How does it keep from melting in the heat?
Ignore that I scribbled out where it says $2 on the box with Sharpie and re-put 5. Don't mind that.
Well, I mean, it's part of the delivery charge, and we're very far away from the city.
This is true. Have you seen how much DoorDash charges for far deliveries? Ooh.
That's right.
There was a troll guarding the bridge, and I had to kill it to get up here. You are going to
be. But we could be.
I do appreciate the decrepit, like wizard kind of tower, slanted up on top of a mountain, overlooking everything. I do appreciate me. Just basically, like again, Baldur's Gate 3 again. That Underdark wizard tower. Just take that and smack it onto a mountainside. I want that one.
I want I have a little telescope where I can watch people be like, the tower of
those are the heroes that are trying to get me now. And it's only Tuesday. This is going to be interesting.
I'm gonna need fan art of him as Dragonborn, by the way. I'm gonna need that. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, just make that happen, somebody in chat. I have faith in you. We can get a little bit exploratory with this question and kind of branch it off a little bit. What are your future goals and any miscellaneous projects that you have in the works that you're willing to discuss? Or in the case of Dungeon Flippers itself, anything information-wise that you feel free discussing this time around? Like, I know the characters themselves exist. Is it possible to be like, oh, this is who they are, this is what they're like, and a little bit of a background to some of them? Because we know Molly and Cleveland, but there's a whole posse of real estate
Yeah.
employees here.
Yeah, the rest of the cast, who I'm looking forward to introducing in the next episode, kind of round out them as a company in many ways. We have Cleveland's mom, Karen, who's the broker person, the boss, basically. But she's very old school in her business strategy, which is very much like breaking in, getting as good a deal as you can by any means necessary. And,
Emphasis on the breaking in part.
right, yeah. You know, people are more inclined to sell their dungeon to you when you threaten them, use violence.
This is
Great
true.
motivator.
She is the cutter of middlemen. She is the striker of deals.
Oh boy.
Oh no, I referenced her unintentionally earlier. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
I was like, you love to cut the middleman, eh? I have a person for you. But no, yeah, and it's one of those. It's a fun bit of like conflict between her and Cleveland, because Cleveland, by comparison, is a lot more, as you've noticed in the pilot, very cool. More, he does his words doing the talking, and everything. He's trying to like make the business look a little more legitimate, and picking up the pieces of his mom's wreckage, going through things. And we have characters like Emma, the golem woman. She's their lead contractor. So a lot of the actual like building, renovating, upkeep, all that stuff, she's usually in charge of that. She's been in this business for over 1,000 years. She knows a thing or two about making castles. And we have characters like Laurel, who's the plant man. He's the secretary. He has a clipping of the world tree, has great astral magic. Does a lot of the marketing, a lot of the making meetings, using the crystal ball to like contact other people, researching locations and different things. So a lot of the secretary type stuff. And then we have Mort, the necromancer, who's the human resources manager.
Oh, he's looking for human resources.
Right. So yeah, it's like
digging them out of the ground.
Yep. If you need some human resources, Mort's got them.
In a leg, I've got at least half of a skull here.
Yeah. I got all these pieces. We can use them, put them to good use. Lots of dark magic and interesting secrets. I don't know, I find human resources in businesses always kind of interesting. The hiring and firing, the meetings, the corporate type of, we all have to watch this video about like how not to talk to your coworkers.
How to be nice people.
How to sanely treat people at the work environment.
Which grades to go to first.
Yeah.
That's one over there.
That's important things. Lots of very suspicious looking contracts we all have to sign. Insurance, how does it work?
Just like real life.
Just like real life. So yeah, I'm really excited to share those characters.
Can I just say how creative all of those like
I know
class features are?
Right.
I loved it.
It's like, yeah, that's how they would do it. It's like,
basically.
It is exactly how they would do it. It's like, how would a necromancer run human resources? Literally raise the dead. And it's like, there's your human.
Yep,
Made
it's
of
like
resources.
we have two janitors. They're skeletons who are in the closet. We just animate them and have them sweep around a little bit, like
I love that.
Straight up, just animate the brooms and let them go.
Yeah, let them do their thing.
Really, you can just do that.
Yeah.
Like you put magic in. Sky's the limit.
Precisely, and like it's one of those things. Like I've always been that starry-eyed child about like fantasy and magic and all that stuff. And then when I kind of became an adult and got into the real world and saw like secretaries and human resource managers, I'm like, oh, it is kind of like magic though. It is. I'm signing away my soul in this contract. Sure, why not?
It just doesn't glow and doesn't require blood in order to do it.
That's right. There's
But it's
similar
same.
enough, right. They're similar enough.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
All been there.
So that's something. That's a lot of Dungeon Flippers humor, I think, is finding those fun similarities between mundane office and real estate things with the fantastic epic fantasy world.
Yeah, it's just like you wouldn't expect anybody to be living under a bridge. But in this world, there are people that do live under bridges, so they do need homes.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Can
So it's just
ideally be a nice bridge or a decrepit one.
Your pick.
Depends on your vibe.
Oh, it's just I'm just looking at this show and all of the potential that it has, and I'm like, I'm not seeing an end point to what could theoretically be done, and that's the kind of show that I'm looking for. We know the show's going to end when Molly builds their house and everything, but how we get from that point to this point, who knows?
Who can say? Ups and downs, trials and tribulations,
miracles all over the place.
I can't wait to see how the dungeon of the day turns into just like evolving plot. I'm hunger. I cannot wait.
Yes. Because that's. Granted, I can't promise future episodes because it's independent.
This is true.
How to make it, but that's always kind of been a lot of my goal is to make sure that it's never just the bit of the literal monster of the week. Them doing stuff. There's always like a strange the through lines of the characters evolving as the show goes on. Yeah.
Yes.
That we have the best of both worlds. The this time we're doing this thing, but also these characters are going through something right now.
There's a moment happening here, and it's important.
Yeah.
Oh God, the fighting the panic attack at work episode is gonna go crazy.
Oh yes.
I can't wait for water cooler talk, and it's some sort of water elemental that they're just chatting up, being like, "Yeah, I know today's getting a little bit difficult, but I think you're gonna manage."
Yeah,
something along those lines. So, do you have any other questions that you personally would like to ask, Nev? While I sift through some of these and see if we could get some good ones going.
I think that I mostly just want to be nosy because I know that animators and creators they hiding little treats in the background of stuff. I live and breathe just trying to comb through and find those kinds of things. So I'm curious if you have any favorite little treats or Easter eggs that you've left behind in a work that it didn't need to be there, but it just felt better that it was there. You know what I mean?
Ooh, yeah. Let's see. Because I did put a lot of little Easter eggs in the pilot episode. As far as favorite, I do feel I can unfortunately reveal I'm not going to keep up the tarot thing for the whole series because I guess that is one thing I'm proud of having the whole pilot carries. I've hidden the all of the suit of wands things throughout the episode.
Oh, nice!
Because it is based on the Ace of Wands tarot card, and thus you can see there's the part where the Ace of Wands card of the hand holding the wand shows up. But I followed through with you can find each of the different kind of card locations throughout the episode, hitting at specific beats in the story. This is in the Witch King's castle. There's a bunch of skeletons that we pan to. But yeah, because the Suit of Wands kind of tells a story in it, and I wanted to try and sneak all of those in at the appropriate spot. So you keep your eyes peeled for those. You can find all 10. And I am proud of that one for sure.
I love that. Oh my! I'm cheesing over here because I feel like at one point I caught one, and I was like, "Is that a tarot card?" And then I just kind of was like, "That's so cool, love that." I'm confused, but sure. And I think that I only saw the one, so I didn't pick up on the not chat.
Yeah,
we're going back.
We're going back. Mine too.
I don't make the rules.
Mine too. I think at the end, near the end of the episode, there was when, I guess spoilers for those who haven't seen it, when Molly makes the Ace of Wands dungeon, conjures it in the void, and then the Ace of Wands knocks on the door, and Molly opens it. The Ace of Wands is there. He's in this pose, the Nine of Wands, which is very much this completing of a task. Kind of thing. So yeah, and then later on, shortly afterwards, we see Molly carrying a whole bunch of sticks as she's moving towards the ruins of her family dungeon. So no, yeah, they're all secreted away in there.
I love it when a show gets very highbrow
for
the astute viewer, and for the viewer that is yet to be astute. So
It has D&D. It has tarot in it. You are checking a lot of boxes,
Whoa.
my friend.
you're getting there. It's like there's
Mm.
a lot that everybody can get behind, and
Mhm.
it's going to tickle a lot of fancies. But with that said, I'm going to spin it now over to chat. I know we've got a few questions lined up, but now's your chance, guys, for questions that you would like to ask Travis about Dungeon Flippers specifically. Again, I need to reiterate, don't go into spoilery territory. They're not going to get answered. So you're just going to have, the answer will be, you're going to have to watch and find out. So I've already answered them for you. Don't need to ask them.
Boom.
And again, Super Chatting will take priority, but until then, we've got a few that have come through. So the first one, Skylight Awakens, wonderful name by the by. What was the most silliest thing you did with a group? And I'm going to assume the Dungeon Flippers team.
I wonder if it's I guess that makes sense. Dungeon Flippers, either that or D&D groups.
Pick a group.
I can answer both. I guess.
You can get
I want to hear both personally.
The silliest thing with the Dungeon Flippers group, the D&D group, the insert show group that you worked with way back. Multiple silly moments. Go for it.
Right. Oh, okay. Let's see. The silliest thing I did for producing the show. Ooh, what was there? I'm so typically straight-laced with things.
So many. We're professional.
Well, I know. Like we did a lot of. We did some ad-lib parts in the pilot. I guess that's not the most silliest thing that I did. Silly thing I did.
You did. Someone in the group.
I directed them to do ad-lib stuff. And I know Cleveland, when he's in the void, coming up with ideas for how to bring the Ace of Wands back was Casey, the voice actor for Cleveland, was doing just a lot of ad-lib reads. Mm-hmm. And we did a lot of ad-libs for what would have been in the montage scene, which came up with some funny things about like there being a witch, and hard to translate that here on the chat. Trying to think if there's anything extra I did. Mostly just silly stuff in the voice recording booth. I think that's where a lot of the silliest stuff happens.
It seems this way.
Ramshackle proved that. That's where the silly happens.
That's where the beans scream.
As far as for like D&D shenanigans, it's tough because there's so many silly things you do in D&D.
This is true, especially if you nat one.
Definitely.
That's where the silly happens.
I know there was once we were almost like level 20 or something like that. We were fighting a beholder, and it was very serious, very dire. And I guess once again, this wasn't me who did it, but we had a dark elf rogue, and in the fight they got turned into a minnow, which not very good at fighting a beholder with that.
No.
But when they did like an attack to bite the beholder, they did crit, and with their rogue stats and everything else, it ended up putting the final hit on the beholder. So the imagine about someone just having this really big fight with the beholder, and then this tiny little minnow jumps up and goes like kills it.
You gotta go by the nat 20.
It hit him in his softest spot.
The open wounds, he swims up the blood like a salmon up a river.
Yes.
Stabs him in the heart.
Yes.
Not gonna lie, one of my favorite things ever is when my DM asks me, so how you want to do this?
I love that feeling. It's so good.
And the gloves come off.
Yes.
Like, okay, here we go. I'm about to ruin this man's day. And by this man's, I mean the dungeon master.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really remember anything actually no. The only silliest thing is with my D&D group, we do a Pokemon themed D&D group, and one of the guys has a reoccurring Pokemon that's, if you played the 9th generation Tinkaton, little pink gremlin with the giant freaking hammer.
Ooh.
Sure.
I
actually do know.
It is named Merobiba, and she is very brave, and that is the joke. That is the joke. So or something happens, mainly if there's a bird that needs to be taken care of, Merobiba gonna hit it real hard. It's a joke that refuses to die, and nobody's stopping it.
I
So
wouldn't be able
good.
to take a thing seriously. I would just be laughing the whole time.
We
They're
always
trying to
are.
talk.
We always are. But most recently, it's like we had to take down a real big one and a real big, evil, powerful Pokemon, and we needed to use a specific sword in order to do it. Well, Mel Biba's got a giant hammer and just golf shots that straight into it and killed it. It's just like, of course, this is how this is gonna go.
Oh god, I'm gonna need all the luck. I'm fighting 2 hags this week.
Oh no!
Help.
No.
Have you tried suplexing one of them?
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a Sicilian. I probably could. I got an
Oh,
advantage on
there you
grapple.
go.
There you go. I'm giving you an idea. Suplex the hag.
Yeah, so if you
Come here, Orga.
Get one into a lock and then use it as a shield for the others. Like if they're going to sling spells at you, just be like,
Yeah, body
"Into a
block.
frog." Whoop.
Exactly. Just working like that.
The Orga block. We got this.
All right, we found our silly moments. Hope
There we go.
that answers your question there, Skylight. You got a little bit more for that, but we'll go with that. Next up, Pichu Gaming is asking for Travis specifically, what has been the most positive experience with the series and the fandom as a whole?
Ooh, I think just seeing that positive reaction. Once again, I wasn't really expecting, or I didn't know what to expect from the reaction of people. And I know the internet can be a very cruel and merciless place. And I think the most positive experience, I think, has just been the overwhelming amount of like people who really like enjoyed watching the show and are intrigued and enjoy the characters. Like, as simple as the thing as that is, it's like the most like, you guys, you get it. You know what you're picking up what I'm putting down. I'm so happy that people are feeling these good feelings from the thing that I made. Especially, like I said, after a career of mostly just making a lot of poop jokes for Fox.
Sorry, I'm a professional. I would never laugh at someone saying the word poop.
So yeah, getting that positive feedback. The fans have been very nice so far. Once again, you never can tell with the internet. Some fandoms get really toxic really fast. So far, knock on wood, everything's been okay with Dungeon Flippers.
Nothing really that I would see that would cause a stir. It's just Manticore selling homes.
That's all right.
I don't really know who's going to be upset by that.
You got a problem with someone trying to find a house, dude?
Right. Who's the real monster here?
Oh, that's a theme that could permeate throughout the entire series.
Definitely.
Oh, just find that one random, just normal human that's looking for a normal human house, and it's the greatest challenge you've ever seen. Just like they want a little ranch-style house out in the woods, and it's fine, and it's just like bed, bath, and just not beyond because they're just normal. I could see that work. I could see that working as an episode. The greatest challenge, just normal.
The most normal dude ever. Yeah.
the average Joe.
Because I would imagine like Molly would be very much like, but are you sure you don't want like this or like all these nice things? He's like, no, I just want like a normal sink, a normal bathroom, please. It's like, but we can
have all of this.
We have all these things that we could do, and you just want to do a normal thing? Yeah, just
that's fine.
Just a standard twin mattress, I guess. I don't know. Maybe a door. I don't know. Wood.
It's just one of those like men live like this, and it's just a mattress.
Right? Yeah, it's a mattress on the floor.
Their TV propped up on a cardboard box that it came in.
Bachelor pad.
That would drive Molly insane to see. The way most normal men live.
How do you live like this?
Easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
Nothing else.
I could see that being an episode. And just like
really
it drives every single person of the team up a wall.
Yes.
It's just like no magic anywhere. It's just like, no, I don't need that skeleton band to install like a window or anything. I'm cool. Just like normal human things. Just one episode like that. It's just that could be like human resources. You'd be like, so how does that make you feel? This isn't normally what I have to do, but it's in the job description. There's some internal strife at the workplace. And I have to discuss
He just doesn't want anything interesting.
He doesn't want anything magical.
Is this a human thing? I don't get it.
From what I'm told, that's kind of the problem. Why do you think I only work with dead humans? God, you could get away with a lot just talking about normal. Surprisingly enough, the most extraordinary thing ever is the most mundane.
Yes.
This is true.
God, the roles flip so freaking hard. Style it after like one of those generic HGTV shows where it's just like average Joe.
I have a question really quick since chat is thinking. How has your working in animation added to or taken away from your movie going or like cartoon experience? Like you as a consumer, how has your work affected that for you?
Right. I feel like it hasn't, because obviously I can recognize, quality, budget, and all that stuff. I can see like, oh, well, I don't turn my nose up to shows that look a little like rough, like they had to be made quickly or with less money typically. I feel like I'm able to appreciate things. Like I feel like, well, that might be the thing. I can appreciate economy of production kind of sometimes. Like I love, it obviously goes without saying, a really pretty show. That's very nice. Like, where they put a lot of money into like the animation, gorgeous and stuff. But I feel like working in shows and having had to work on scenes or shots that are incredibly taxing, that are cost, way too much money to do very little, like as far as making something good. I can appreciate kind of those more mundane, less than good shows that are like, well, they're actually getting a lot done with very little. It's kind of commendable. Like, I don't know. I think recently I was revisiting some of like Garfield and Friends, where I'm like,
nice.
you know what? No complicated shots, very straight on. Characters all look kind of the same, like basic movements. Hey, it's Garfield though. It's working.
Like that's true.
Yeah, it's like, you could make this look crazy. You could make it all like anime shooting all over the cameras and everything. But like, I feel like because I've had to work on shows with easy shots, hard shots, like I'm able to appreciate those kind of like streamlined shows, even if they're kind of mid.
Yeah, it's more or less the not really presentation, but just what's in it.
Yeah,
can sell a show as well. Something simply presented, but the characters are really engaging. The world's a fun little thing to stomp around in. There's stuff there. Like 2 out of 3, you can still make it work.
It's true.
You don't need to make the perfect trifecta or anything.
That's true.
You need to get something, and if people like it, you keep going with that, and maybe improve along the way. Which is another beautiful aspect of indie animation. Everybody's learning at the same time.
Yes.
Everybody's on the same page. There's no professionals here, just a lot of ambitious people with big dreams and the know-how to do it. So.
I think one of my favorite things about the indie animation scene is just that pretty much everybody, even the people that don't animate, the community itself, the fandom, like pretty much everyone has so much respect for the work that goes into animation.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's, I don't want to be too presumptuous because I haven't worked in the animation industry professionally or anything like that. However, I feel like in more recent years, people have been starting to understand how much work goes into animation, as opposed to like a few years ago, people are like, why no spit out episode? Why not though?
Where's my 26 episode season?
South Park taught me you could make an episode per week. What is this?
I mean, if you want to go into a classic example of what that looks like, just look at I want to say probably the second season of the original 1984 Transformers show, with all of its animation errors front and center for everyone to see. Why is Starscream standing next to himself for this one shot? Why are they so disproportionately like no clipping into each other? That's what happens when you've got to get an episode out in a week.
Right.
To sell the toy and get the glorified commercial series going. It's like, that's what it looks like. This stuff takes time, and you don't want to, like the old saying goes, can't rush perfection.
That's right.
You got to at least put a rein on it and keep it under control as much as you don't want to. You want to get that out. And
Oh yeah, it's like I
get
love to
people
just
see
snap my
it.
fingers.
I want to take everything that's in my head and throw it at the screen, and it just be there.
Wouldn't that be
Exactly
nice?
how I want it.
Perfectly, just that way. No.
Nope, that's not how that works, unfortunately. We do not live in the medieval fantasy world where that would actually be possible.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, like Cleveland, I'm the only one that can see it. So,
Right. Yeah.
So, we got a few more that are coming through. Pichu's got another one that they'd like to ask you, Travis. What was the most awkward line and your favorite line that the actors had to say as their characters while recording them for the pilot?
Oh, that's a tough one. Let's see. Awkward lines. I like to think I don't have any awkward lines. But everything is perfect. No, awkward lines.
Like, what was a funny thing Molly had to say?
Funny thing. Ooh.
Or something that Cleveland's deadpan delivery had to kind of go through a couple of times to nail it down in between chuckles.
Get the dryness down pat.
Right. Oh, what are some good ones? I know, like, a lot of the scenes in The Void, I feel like we had to take several steps through just to get, like, a lot of those more emotional bits, or like getting those things delivered just right. Like I said, once again, Cleveland coming up with ideas in The Void was like mostly ad libs. So there's a lot of him just being like, what if we there's some wizard and some other things going on. We could do a lot of these things.
Just in his own little world right there while the plot's trying to fix itself. I know, like, it was in one of the earlier scenes when it's like, we need some place with a little closer to the action, more community, more romance, more modern, like getting that fun kind of like back and forth. I feel like we did a lot of takes of that one particularly, just to get like, because there's so many different ways you could be like more community, more modern, like more romance, something airy stuff like that.
Because it's very easy, I think, for them each to like do more energy each time, where it's like closer to the action, more community, more romance, like
just escalating,
building,
intensity and energy.
Finding the good, energy levels for those. Let's see, awkward lines and favorite lines. I mean, obviously this place just screams. I think still a hallmark line, I think, of just
rakes his nails across and like, this place literally screams.
Yeah, it's like, it's full of ghosts. I feel like that. I mean, I feel like that's the Dungeon Flippers humor in a nutshell. It's like, say something. I mean, kind of similar to the Addams Family, I guess, where it's like, say something kind of scary and unsettling, but in a very upbeat way.
Right.
Just
like all. It's like all
those dead bodies.
All the real estate humor amped up to 11 to its actual literal meaning because magic says so, and it's just like that could be like leaky pipes, and they're just like gossiping all over the place. Like, they can't keep their trap shut. It's just like, unfortunately, this place has some leaky pipes. It's like, did you hear what Jessica said yesterday?
The gossiping pipes.
Something like that. It's just like any sort of like real estate lingo that everybody knows of. Be like, but what if it was real? Like, the different meaning behind that. So it's just like, you could again, when you introduce magic, you've got like infinite number of possibilities that you can work with as far as like jokes, double meanings, and so on and so forth. Right. It's just like, what is like a centaur looking for in a home? Are you gonna put him out in like the pasture or something? A stable? What are we looking for here?
The hills to roam on.
What does a centaur bed look like? That's something that I've really troubled myself.
I was imagining an L-shaped bed where it's like it's sideways with the head pillow part, but then it goes out to the side where the horse part.
Yeah, the horse just sits down, but then the human part just lays like
I
it's
think
like
the most
half a
Ooh.
futon or something.
Yeah, the most cursed part is like they're a stomach sleeper, so their horse half is standing and they're just like face
Ooh.
down on a really high
With
raised
their
bed.
butts in the air, kind of, while their front's down.
Yeah,
It's like the horse
Pretty
standing
fun.
up, sleeping, but
exactly.
the human half is down.
Ooh.
How do you sleep? Standing up, partially.
Well, my bottom half sleeps sideways, and my top half sleeps on the stomach.
Gotta relax the core somehow, you know?
Yeah. Ooh.
You should have seen how I made it work with a bunk bed.
Yes.
That's how the standing up part works. Again, just run with the imagination.
My mind's going all over. I'm like,
I'm seeing the gears turn.
Yeah. I was like, oh, what if they had hammocks? How would a centaur sleep on a hammock? I wonder.
Really droopily, I imagine. Their butt is basically on the floor under the hammock. They're so heavy.
Or maybe like they have like the neck pillows, but like one big enough that it would go around your waist for the horse part, so they could kind of just flop
lean
back.
against the wall. Oh my gosh!
I've seen some of those like
it's like an inner tube.
Like it's went for like newborn mothers. It's just like a pillow that
around
the waist, except it's just longer.
I know you meant mothers of newborns, but like my brain interpreted it as newborn mother, so it's just like a freshly born mom.
I'm not even going to go any further than that. We're just going to cut that line. And just,
all moms are fully grown when they come into existence.
That's how it works.
Pichu, that's your awkward line that you're looking for.
Exactly.
So answer that one right there. But this is now starting to devolve into a brainstorming session.
I like it.
You
know what? I have another question I can ask that branches off of that thought really well. So what do you believe is the most important tool in creating efficient storyboards when you're trying to brainstorm that pathway to get from point A to point Z in this instance?
Right. I feel like I often, once again, the efficiency and streamlinedness, usually one of the things I think about most often is like, how few backgrounds can we use?
Word.
Because oftentimes when you're an ambitious young storyboard artist, you're like, all right, we're going to have a low angle here, or we're walking in the room, we're looking at it from here, and then we'll look down on them from the next shot of them over here, and then we'll cut over here and cut over there, and it's like, that's 10 weeks of storyboard production or of background production you just caused by having all the camera move around so much. So economy of things, it's a sliding scale, I guess. Most important tool in creating effective storyboards. I feel like having the shots be as communicative as possible per shot. Like, if a shot isn't communicating much by itself, then it's usually kind of it might be a bit excessive or a waste. Like, we have a character doing this, like, it needs to convey what we're seeing, what the character is doing. I feel like sometimes with greener storyboard artists, they'll throw a shot in just for the fun of it. And it makes it look cool sometimes, but if it doesn't really communicate much information, once again, it's adding extra animation, it's adding extra backgrounds, and sometimes it can just kind of muddy up the scene a little bit.
They put in that like one hyper realistic like frame of just like super angry character, but it's just like incredibly stylized. Every wrinkle is there, blemish, wrinkle, bead of sweat, eye marks, and all that other stuff. Just for a split second, it's like, why?
No, yeah.
I think Viger might watch SpongeBob.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's where the Emmy juice. Those are the Emmy shots right there. But no, yeah, I think in my limited time in backgrounds work, that's often been my case of like, I spend several days making this background that's on screen for 20 frames. Like, why? I spent so much work on this, and it's on screen for less than a second. No.
Yeah.
But I guess on the flip side of that, you don't want to have it be having shots that are too long, or if the composition's too dull, it starts getting a little bit boring.
True.
Cutting back to Garfield and Friends as an example, where it's just like, it's always the 3/4 view. I guess like things like Family Guy and The Simpsons are kind of similar, where they have those wide shots that last for 30 seconds of characters just raising their hand and saying stuff. Does get boring after a while. I'm saying this
so
as a person
valid.
who's had to animate a lot of 30-second long shots of characters raising and lowering their hand.
Oh
Oh,
God,
we know
I can
that.
imagine how that would be a little brain rot by the end of it. To be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we got that. We did that question. A few more have piled in. So, from Joe's Shocking Tunes,
Oh, hey, Joe.
between the two main characters thus far, we can expand on this with your knowledge of everybody else on the team. Who could flip a dungeon upside down quickest?
Ooh, probably Molly. I think.
Mm.
I think she's got the drive. She got the spunk. And probably a little more muscle than Cleveland. If we're going purely on a physicality thing, I feel like while Cleveland's very business oriented, and a little more maybe focused, I feel like after about halfway through flipping the dungeon upside down, he'd be like, "That's too much work. I need to get somebody else to do this for me."
Yeah, it's like who has to delegate first?
Precisely. Whereas Molly would be like, "No, I got it. Just give me a little more time. I'll flip this part upside down."
And again, for the extended cast included as well.
Ooh. I was about to say, as far as the extended cast, between Cairn, Cleveland's mom, she could probably slam into a dungeon and flip it upside down pretty quickly. She's just like,
Flip it.
Yeah, quite literally.
Takes it too literally.
Yeah, whereas like Emma, the golem contractor, she could probably, with her good stoneworking skills, probably just, all right, we're going to do this on a budget, on schedule. Let me just like get her handiwork in there.
Really calculate it.
Having the two of them face off, they'd be very down to the wire, very close between the two of them.
Mm-hmm. Episode idea.
Yes. Yes.
We're sending you away with a lot of homework.
Who's the fastest flipper?
All right, we have to have a flip battle and a centaur bed. What else is there that we got to work on? We're giving you homework.
I've already introduced shapeshifter green-haired client indecisive because their personality keeps changing just like their appearance.
Listen, I whiplash from one end of the spectrum to the other, and it's the autism spectrum, okay? That is true.
The idea is there.
Oh man.
I think we could swing it back to Pichu again. They've got some interesting ideas.
True.
If you had a chance to be friends with any of the Dungeon Flippers characters, who would you choose?
Ooh, I mean, it's got to be Molly. She's just so pleasant to be around. She seems very friendly and nice.
And not because she's holding you hostage in the back of the room right there.
She might be. It doesn't hurt. It's definitely playing a part. There's definitely a factor in there. But no, yeah, she definitely seems like she'd be a fun person to hang out with and go on an adventure with. Just do some job shadowing on the job training. I guess the bigger question is who wouldn't I want to? Maybe Mort.
Yeah, we could flip it around. It's like
Mort might be a little bit scary. They're very gloomy and a bit abrasive when you're around them.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for the opportune moment to turn you into human resources.
Everything is potential.
Everybody is potential manpower for me.
All life is potential matter for necromancy.
I just look at this world and I see resources.
Only a matter
Can't
of
imagine
time.
why I have the position that I have.
Only
This is
a
my
matter of
audition
time.
for the role of Mort.
Add a little more nasal, you could be Skeletor.
That's right. Yeah.
There it is.
Whatever you're looking for.
Right.
Speaking of that, kind of what we're looking at as far as the extended cast is concerned, I don't know if have you found VAs for the rest of the cast, and if so, are you under any sort of NDAs to say can't say who, but I have them?
I will need to look for a few.
Or anyone that you're looking for specifically.
Ooh,
like,
anyone
if
I'm
I
looking for.
could cast somebody
Straight
for
from my
this role,
tie.
who
Right,
would
right.
I want?
I don't know. I'm not super connected with, as I know there's a lot of very popular voice actors in the indie community, but I'm not very, I don't keep up too often. So I'm like, who's this? I'm thinking the more
Who's the big
character.
shot this time around?
Yeah, who's this guy again?
Who's this Michael person? He seems to be in a lot of
I was
stuff.
thinking the same thing, but I was like, maybe I don't call out a specific name.
Me and a few other indie people do have a game where we're like, who would Michael Kovac play in our respective games? And I guess to that end, I will say I personally don't like the isekai genre that much. And I was thinking it would be fun to extrapolate on why I don't by having him play like an isekai protagonist. He was like, hey, it's me. I just come from another world. Look at my fancy smartphone. And it's like,
no.
I'm better than everyone because I know about smartphones.
This is just like my Dungeons and Dragons campaign.
Yeah, I don't. I belittle and demean your entire culture because I'm not from this world.
Oh God!
I'm gonna min-max your entire economy.
Just like real life. Callback ping.
Yeah.
Oh,
Help.
So that would be a fun episode. I think that would be a good role for him. But I've casted. I have Nola. What was her name? Nola Comp. I think that's the way.
Nola Comp.
Yeah, Nola Comp. As playing for the teaser, I had her play both Karen and Emma. Which worked fine because there were very few lines in the teaser, and I think it would be nice to keep that going. She did very well on her auditions and did a really good job playing the characters. For Laurel and Mort, I have yet to cast anybody. I was doing the voice of Laurel in the teaser, but I was like, that's just because I didn't want to do a whole audition. I had to get that teaser out in like a very short amount of time.
I'll just do it myself real quick.
That was the thing. I was like, I got the microphone. I'll just do it real quick. With like one line, it's fine. But no, yeah. So I'll need to start looking for some, and there's a few other characters that we'll meet beyond the main cast in episode 2 that I'll need to hire. But I've yet to pick anyone in particular yet. So
that's fair.
There's room for others. I tend to, much like how I cast a lot of my friends, or my friend Sarah as Molly and my friend Casey as Cleveland. It's one of those tricky things where I kind of value a person's natural voice and stuff, and trying to find that in a person is an interesting challenge. And it's always funny with dungeon flippers because it is that there's a weird dichotomy between like, we have the Ace of Wands who's like, I've spent 200 years doing all this stuff, very much a character voice, and then we have like moments of like Molly and Cleveland where they're like, oh, we're real estate agents, but then moments of like, what's the deal with this guy? Like, I don't know, like the shifting between like character voices and normal, basically
characters and character type beat.
Yeah, precisely. Yes.
It's just like you find those kinds of characters that you play into the stereotype for the joke. Like a troll's just going to be screaming and shouting a lot. Yes. Just like he has no indoor voice. He just has an outdoor voice, and got to work around that. Who's a good shouty VA that we can work with? This guy can do it, and it's nice that you have that sort of appreciation for somebody's natural voice as opposed to somebody having to project something else that they're not quite ready for, or just
Listen, sometimes it's really important, all right?
Yeah, it's true. You've been doing a very particular character voice. It's always interesting because sometimes I won't, I think about, what was it, Wacko from Animaniacs, how I think I heard Jess Arnell, I think is VA, but like how they were wanting like, whoa, I'm wacko, I'm extreme, I'm wild and far out, and then like Jess Arnell came in and was like, what if I sounded like Ringo Starr? Like, you're like, wait a minute, no, this is good.
That works.
That was like this Liverpool accent. They're like, no, this is good.
I think that's I think that's how Hades in Disney's Hercules came about. It's like, wait a minute, what if we just had James Woods as James Woods playing Hades? And it worked.
And
works
now
really
we have
well.
Chris Pratt as Mario.
Everything.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a bad example of someone's natural voice playing a character.
Weeps and sobs.
Uh,
Oh no.
It's just like, I just don't hear it, but I'll be willing to put that aside for later.
yeah.
We do have another one that's popped in here. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. So I'm just going to call you Cross. Travis, what are you hoping to see in the animation industry as a whole in 2025?
Ooh. At first I was like, when's that? I was like, oh, that's
When does
That's
that happen?
now. Oh god.
Do I have time for this? Oh, no, I don't.
There's only like 10 months left of the year.
Oh
What can we
god.
do? The animation industry. Ooh. I have to look and see. I have to look at the industry right now. I'm like, what's going on there?
What's going on there? Why won't they let me? No.
Close the curtains.
Well, yeah, because things have been slow for a lot of us in the industry the past few years, but I feel like things are starting to get back a little bit. But I feel like studios are still, or like a lot of the big production companies are being a little bit weird with what they are making. So I would see, what am I hoping to see? What I'm hoping to see is lots of good new shows getting made and greenlit. Maybe mine.
Maybe.
Nice. I'm really hoping that between indie animation and those creative people out there, and that somebody can shake loose some good shows and make some good stuff worth watching.
That's fair entirely. And kind of to that extent, we could kind of branch off of that a little bit.
Okay.
But your own personal take, what are some of the indie shows that have been announced or in development or have their pilots out already that have caught your eye in particular?
Ooh, let's see.
What's your favorite competition right now?
Oh, competition.
I love that mindset actually.
Really? I try to avoid it.
I say that jokingly.
Not
but-
like in a tear them down kind of competition, but in like I always feel like a little bit of healthy competition like encourages people to push themselves a little bit harder, but not like in an unhealthy way.
No. I got what you're putting down. But no, I feel like honestly, a Glitch is definitely, I think, becoming such a big presence in the indie scene. They have a lot of different shows under their belt. But I mean, just I like how Digital Circus and what I've seen so far from the teaser for the new Dana Terrace show that they're working on.
Yeah, Knights of Guinevere.
Yeah, that like I feel like both it and a lot of those other shows, they feel like they have a lot of depth or substance to them, and stuff. The animation, of course, also is very nice. But that's the thing I'm really enjoying about as the indie scene is getting more developed, is that we're seeing more, I don't want to say complicated, but more nuanced and intriguing worlds and ideas kind of spring up. And then
I like to use the word inventive.
Inventive, that's a great word. Inventive type of concepts, and then having to follow through to actually see them happen.
Everybody's doing something different.
Precisely.
And that's what's crazy. That's like you've got all these different minds working at basically the same time, and nobody's coming up with the same sort of thing. Right. Everybody's doing something different.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a healthy competition. It's not like I've got the better medieval real estate show out there.
Right.
No, it's like you've got the medieval real estate show. I've got the psychedelic horror show. I have the mystic band with cute animal dog dragon creature. Far-fetched, by the by.
Precisely. Yeah.
Like, you got all these different shows with all these different parts, but there's no overlap. And that's crazy to see in an industry where you do see so much overlap in the mainstream doing all of that.
Something that I've unfortunately noticed is that a lot of times, like even with those kinds of shows that get picked up by the quote unquote mainstream, they'll be given like a season and then get sent to the Netflix graveyard of one season only animations. Like
Right. Oh,
rip
no.
them. Shout outs to
Pour one
Scavenger's
out.
Reign. I love
Oh,
Scavenger's Reign. Canceled too soon, but that first season was really good. And just being able to see it start to delve away from like that, it looks like, and not to hate on any of these art styles, by the way, all the art styles that I'm going to list, I love them dearly, but it's also all we see anymore, which is Steven Universe art style, Rick and Morty art style. It's like, it's all permeating. Thank God, no offense, Family Guy, but bless you, you've been around long enough. I don't need to see Family Guy art style in new animations anymore. I want to see that fresh stuff, which is why shows like Dungeon Flippers and Scavenger's Reign, oh, my beloved, and more 3D animated shows, and seeing that kind of stuff is just so delicious to see. I wish that mainstream didn't punish it so hard.
Yeah, at least give it a shot.
Yeah.
It's like, we've been doing this for years now, where we've gotten all these cool, interesting, creative, different shows out there. Why won't they bite at this very, very potential lucrative market?
Yeah.
I just think they don't want to let go of the control, because that way it'd say like the industry wants to pick up Dungeon Flippers. The caveat is you're in charge. You call the shots. My dream is not going to get tarnished one way or another. My vision is going to remain the same. And if you don't like it, I'll find somebody else, and I'll take my audience with me.
There you go.
Precisely. Yeah, as I feel like it's, well, obviously, I think the past handful of years that have been like and also it's not just one indie animation vein. It's everyone kind of doing things, and we're inching our way in a certain direction. But it's starting to find its legs. It's starting to find itself as a viable source of things. Like, I've worked on a lot of shows, and like pretty much none of them had any kind of merchandise or anything, or a way of generating revenue beyond just the thing itself. And it's just like, it's not a very viable market a lot of times. And I feel like indie is starting to figure out ways of doing that feasibly. It's still obviously the biggest hurdle. That's why I'm not making 20 episodes right now.
Right.
But no, it's, if nothing else, it's getting popularity. Like, different shows and stuff that people are working on are getting popularity, and oftentimes I feel like it's more popular than the stuff you see on a lot of mainstream.
I mean, you
absolutely agree.
You see Amazing Digital Circus breaking into Netflix, and that's a huge notch in indie's belt right there. It's like, it's there. It's, people want this. People watch this. People literally buy into this. Why are you not opening the door for everybody else? There's so much here that is waiting.
It's so crazy to me, because people in my like real life that I'm just like randomly talking to them about random stuff will just casually bring up, oh, I found this animation on Netflix the other day called The Amazing Digital Circus. And I'm like, they don't know that I'm a VTuber that does a reaction series on that. I have to act normal. It's like, oh wow, that's so interesting. I've actually seen it. What do you think? Like, people are just discovering indie animation because it's starting to break through that barrier between the two. And it's like,
literally one of those moments. Do not speak of the old laws. I was there when they were written. I was there in the trenches long before you. It's like, I've seen the pilots. I've seen where it started, and I will see where it ends, one way or another. I'm happy that these kinds of shows exist. I'm happy that Dungeon Flippers is taking off like it is, and staying true to its vision and carving out a path in its own way, going into real estate territory, laying the foundations for perhaps something else
that we could build upon.
Build upon, exactly. Something different in its own way that, again, carves its path, lays a foundation for something else to drive forward, and it just keeps spiraling up to where we have this wonderful little wizard's tower of imagination and creation everywhere.
Love it.
A man can dream and bring it to life, as you and many other content creators of many different walks of life have proven time and time and time again. it's crazy what people can dream of and then have the drive to make it. So
oh, totally.
It's inspiring, to say the least, that people can look to you and be like, I was inspired by Dungeon Flippers to make my own show with my own characters and everything. And it's taking off too, because people like this stuff. And it's an interconnected family, this indie animation industry is right now. And we love to see it progressing the way that it is. And Dungeon Flippers, Murder Drones, Farfetched, all of them just exploding out onto the scene and being like, I have a story worth telling.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I have a story to tell. It's just like, do you really?
Right.
Or is it just another one of those like Family Guy episodes again?
Right. No, yeah, like that's the thing I really enjoy so much about a lot of the indie stuff is that it is these things that you can tell are near and dear to the people who make them. Whereas like a lot of the shows I've worked on the other hand are more like vanity projects for comedians. We're like, hey, I'm a comedian, I want to make my own Family Guy. Here we go. I'm not really involved that much.
Cookie cutter all over the place.
Yeah.
Same.
Whereas everything here in the indie scene is so much more like these are the characters I'm very passionate about. This is like a world that's much like that's as part of my as real as the one I'm living in, and trying to share this experience and this feeling with other people. I feel like it's so much more more genuine expression.
Right. We just love to see it expanding and doing its thing and constantly surprising us with what it can come up with. I didn't think I'd get invested in a medieval real estate show, but here I am.
I knew I was the target audience.
Yes.
It's like, yes, I have played Stardew Valley religiously and have gotten into this whole like cozy lifestyle. I am the target audience.
Yes. There are dozens of us. Dozens.
Literally dozens.
Oh man.
Do you have any other questions that you'd like to ask, Nev?
I think that I got my little extra ones that I was thinking of while we were chatting.
Go for it.
Or no, I got them.
Oh, you got them answered.
Yeah, I was being nosy about I adore animation and all of the little bits and bobs that usually you don't get to appreciate in the final. Well, you do get to appreciate in the final product, but it's like usually they're not going to plaster the storyboard art in the credits. Sometimes you get a little treat and you get to see one or two. So I always find the opportunity to pick the brains of creators about the more technical aspects of the process of making a show. Because I know it's not all just fun creative juices. There's some real stuff that goes on behind those scenes.
Oh yeah,
there's some literal blood, sweat, and tears that go into these operations.
Ask the necromancer.
You bring out the MOD files and blood just pours out. Who'd have thought?
With all of that said, then I'm not seeing any other questions popping up at this time. And if the two of us have all of ours answered, is there anything else that you would like to announce or make note of?
Shout out all of your things.
Yeah.
Plug yourself.
All the things. Yes, the plugs.
Yes.
So what do we got? So I'm currently working on episode 2 right now. We're kind of finishing up the script, getting some boards started. It's all looking very good. I'm on, what are my handles? I'm on most social medias.
I think we have all of them in the description or the stream description as a whole. So yeah, we do have your X, we do have your Instagram. Is there a donation site that needs to be disclosed for like Patreon, coffee,
I do have a Patreon.
Something like that?
I do have a Patreon.
If you want to comment that here, and then I can post it in chat for everyone else to.
Sure thing. Let's see.
In the private chat there.
Yeah, in the private chat there. It's been a bit quiet lately because I don't want to have people paying a whole bunch of money and you're not giving much in return. But I know one of the $5 tiers will have sneak peeks and little behind the scenes stuff. Which hasn't been too exciting because it's mostly just been script stuff, words aren't very like look at these cool words I got. But as we're getting further into the process, I'm hoping to really kind of ramp that up a little bit. So those who are backing will have something cool to see that no one else can.
Right.
We do have a merch page on our fourth wall. Let me
get that one up there so we can get that out to the masses.
Cool.
So they can get that Molly plushie that's been staring daggers into the stream this entire time.
It's unfortunately out of stock, but I might bring it back soon. We do have shirts.
One of which you're wearing.
Stickers and stuff. That's right. Let's see. I believe this should be it.
I'm so excited to edit this. I'm going to zoom in on that little plush so much. You have no idea.
I think one of these days I'm going to order some more, get it back in stock.
A reissue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plushies are fun, but they're an investment.
Yeah. Like the show itself, there's a process to them.
That's true.
So let me get that up there so people can get to that too. Checking that out and doing what it is that you will do with that, chat. I have faith that you will also look into it, and if not buy anything, spread the word to somebody who will.
Go watch Dungeon Flippers after this stream. I don't care if you've watched it 15 times. Make it 16.
Find the tarot cards.
And then you got 10.
And then you will finally conquer them all.
Yes.
So
if you don't put a timestamp comment every single one, then it didn't happen. You have to comment that you did it.
If you don't take a screenshot of it and then have you pointing at it, showing that I do in fact see that.
Tweet it out. # Dungeon Flippers Easter egg.
Ooh.
Something like that.
That might be a little lengthy of a hashtag, but it's fine.
You'll get there. You'll get there. All of that being said, then I think we picked your brain as much as we possibly can at this.
It's all picked up.
Yeah, got to give the gray matter a rest. Got to let it grow before next harvest.
Until episode 2 releases, that's kind of where we're going to have to keep it for now, at the very least.
And then we'll lasso you back in here
and talk a little bit more, maybe with the full cast or more animators alongside us, and who knows what could possibly come about with this. It's too early to tell, but there's plenty to show, and we all stand for it and love to see it happen. So, Travis, I'd like to thank you from the bottom of both of our hearts for taking time out of your very busy day to spend it with a couple of schlubs who like your show.
Thank you for the yap sesh.
I really appreciate y'all inviting me. It's been a lot of fun.
Of course. We love it. We love it entirely. So here's to the future for Dungeon Flippers, indie animation as a whole. We can't wait to see what else you've got cooking up in that old noggin of yours. Can't wait to see what other clientele the Dungeon Flippers are going to have to be dealing with, for better and for worse. It'll all be fun and dandy. So I'm signing off as Viger.
Hi. I'm bye. I'm gonna keep streaming after this. You guys are leaving. I'm gonna be playing Alice Madness Returns. So
that's fair too. That's fair too. So everyone in my stream, go over to Nev's stream and do stuff over there. Whatever it is that's going to happen over there.
Wink? Question mark?
I don't know. It's my channel. I don't know what they're going to do. So, with all that being said, thank you all for stopping by. Very informative. And we will catch you guys all in the next one. So, bye.
Bye.